Hey, y'all, welcome back to the Don't Mom Alone podcast. I'm your host, Heather McFadden, and this is the place where I get to walk alongside you and connect you with people and resources so you know that you don't mom alone. And in this episode, number 521, I'm welcoming to the show Patricia Heaton.
So on Everybody Loves Raymond, the first season, I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and I was pregnant with the third, which is a crazy way to start a show.
Oh my gosh.
And the 3-year-old, during the run of the first season, of course, we put him in a gymnastics class because we bought into that thing where you're supposed to sign your kids up for everything from the minute they're born.
So wait. For the mom who's in that season right now,
Yeah.
what advice would you give her? Sign up for the thing or not?
No, give your kid a cardboard box to play with. That's all they need. And also, just let them do stuff with you. It takes a little bit longer for them to help you, but I wish we had taught our kids to do more practical stuff around the house.
Happy Mother's Day, y'all. I hope that you have been able to clearly communicate to your people what feels like celebrating for this upcoming Mother's Day. And I also have been praying specifically. I know that these holidays can be hard for some people, and so I pray that God will uniquely comfort you where you need to be comforted when it comes to this upcoming Mother's Day. Now, today's guest is Emmy award-winning actor Patricia Heaton. Now, if you don't recognize her name, you're not one of those people who knows actors' names. Maybe you know her other mom names, Deborah Barone from Everybody Loves Raymond, or Frankie Heck from The Middle. So fantastic. So great. And she and her husband, David Hunt, are also parents to 4 grown boys. You know that I love that personally as a mom of 4 boys. Today, she's on the show. We talk multi-layer. One, of course, her journey of balancing motherhood with this amazing career that she's had and God's timing in that, which you'll hear. Also, she and her husband have produced, and her husband is a director, this fantastic film that is now streaming on Prime. You can watch it. It's called Unexpected, and it chronicles the emotional journey of infertility and adoption, but also with some humor. She calls it a comedy drama? I don't know what to call that. She had a word for it. You'll hear it in the episode. And then just some mentoring as a mom of 4 grown boys, giving us perspective on what matters and what doesn't matter. And then at the end, she even shares some great films that she thinks my film lover who's a teen would enjoy. So check those out if you are looking for some new films to watch. And let's get right to it. Here we go. Patricia, or Patty, what name do you go by? You have so many different names. Welcome to the Don't Mom Alone podcast.
Thank you. Well, when I'm introduced, it's Patricia Heaton, but then in conversation, it's usually Patty. Yeah.
Patty, those who know you.
Yeah.
I'm just getting to know you. And I was commenting on your background, which if you guys can see the video on social something later, all these beautiful pictures of your journey. And you told me something that I thought was interesting about the intentional placement of all of that.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in a tiny, 3x5 room that's behind the laundry room, that's behind the kitchen. I'm sort of like Harry Potter under the stairs. And I fit like all my little mementos and accolades in here. And I made that decision many years ago because I didn't want my kids growing up in a house where their parents' accomplishments were in their face all the time. Because, what God blessed me with is very rare for people to be able to make their living in this entertainment industry. And I also just wanted our home to be home. I wanted it to be about our family, mom and dad and the brothers, and not to bring all that world inside. So anyone coming into our house would not know what we do for a living if you just walked into our house. It's really just family photographs and artwork. And I need that for myself, mentally and emotionally, to stay grounded and to remind myself what the focus of my life is and to keep it centered. Because I think as an actor, anyone who pursues this industry has to have a very strong, dare I say, big ego, a very strong drive, because it's very, very difficult. And you keep butting your head up against these brick walls of people telling you no. And you have to have a certain kind of God-given drive within you to keep going. So it's a good thing. It's the way God created me, but it can be easily distorted and become the center of your life. And so one way is I just help myself to keep it from being the center of my life is to put all this wonderful stuff, and represents many wonderful experiences with beautiful people, but to put it in a small little space where I can come and visit it, my shrine.
You're it's a reminder. I
Yeah,
did some
every once in a while,
things.
if I'm feeling down, I can come here
Yeah.
and go, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah. Okay. Because tell me, orient us to when did you become a mom in relation to your career?
Well, I think, yeah, God was really, had his very wise timing. I graduated from The Ohio State University and
Yes.
promptly moved to New York City, and I was in New York City from '80 to '89, where I could barely get arrested. I mean, any work that I did, I produced myself with friends.
Mm.
And got one or two commercials, but it was a lot of trying to figure it out, working a million kinds of survival jobs. It was very difficult. And by the ninth year, I was kind of at the end of my rope. And by that time, I had met my husband, David Hunt, and he was going to do a film in LA, and he had an extra ticket, a companion ticket. They
Yeah.
used to give out these
Yeah.
companion tickets on the airlines. And he said, "Why don't you come, take that play that you produced in New York and come and do it out in LA and see what happens?" And that's what I did, and used up all my savings to produce this play. Moved into my cousin's girlfriend's mother's back bedroom in West Hollywood at like the age of 28. So all my friends by this time had marriages, cars, kids, dogs, homes, jobs.
Yeah.
And I could pack everything into two suitcases that I owned. I left the funky old futon behind in New York City. I did not bring that with me to LA.
Oh, the futons. I
Yes.
remember it. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I came to LA. I did not have a car and I didn't really have any money. So I bought one from this company, Rent a Wreck, a 1974 Toyota Corolla with a faulty starter.
Okay.
That's what I drove around in. So it was not an auspicious beginning in Los Angeles.
But it sounds right. Like if you're gonna hear a story, that's the
Yes.
kind
Well,
you
and
wanna hear.
I realize now, Dave and I got engaged and then got married, and I started getting a couple things here and there. And then I think I did two sitcoms after I got married. I did Room for Two with Linda Lavin, who sadly passed away recently. What a dear
Mm,
friend and supporter and mentor to me.
mm.
And then I did a thing with Gabby Hoffman called Someone Like Me. And that's when I got pregnant with our first son. And so I realized that the Lord really withheld any real success from me until I got married and started having children. Because, especially with the kids, it automatically reorganizes your priorities and your kids become the priority. And so it put the pursuit of an acting career in its proper place. And it did a couple things, like selfishly, when you have children, whether you conceive them yourself or adopt them, whatever, you have this chamber in your heart that can only be unlocked by having children.
Yeah.
And it gives you access to a whole other range of emotions that you've never had before. And so, just as an actor, it really enriched my ability to deepen characters that I'm playing. And it also just made my work more efficient because I would be in rehearsal. I could often bring the kids to rehearsal with me because they were little. This was during Everybody Loves Raymond. So we would rehearse for 4 days and then tape on the last day. So they could kind of be around during rehearsal because we weren't taping with a nanny there, of course. But I had to do my work at work. And then when I came home, I was mom.
Yeah.
And so it made me get really efficient with my work. And I think, it's so amazing what women can do and the way we are able to compartmentalize and laser focus and do a bunch of things at once. It's really, you discover your own strength. Of course, you have to really lean on God for all the time, but he gives you the strength, and he's created women in such a way that we, for the most part, have that capability of doing a number of things at once.
Some days my life feels like a sitcom, and one area of that is my husband walking through needing a mouth guard for his grinding of his teeth. Y'all, I cannot make this stuff up. And some of the solutions he's tried to avoid having to pay the high prices of getting a fitted guard through a dentist. One night he woke up and he thought he was choking on a piece of it. He wasn't. It was a dream. But I feel like I have come upon a great solution for y'all and for us. I'm so excited. My husband was so excited about Remy. Okay, if you haven't heard, let me tell you. If you are part of the 30% of Americans who grind their teeth, you need protection. You need help. Let us help you out. Remy is a custom fit night guard. Dentists and teeth grinders are recommending Remy because it is a custom fit guard that is the best way to protect your teeth. It is 80% less than when you get one through the dentist, and it is way, way easier. So what happened was Remy sent us an impression kit straight to our door. They gave us video instructions step by step to get your perfect impression. There's even like a process to make sure you got the impression correct, where you send a picture in, they check it. If it's not correct, you may schedule a time with a qualified dentist to help you walk through the steps, which I thought was really, really helpful. Then Remy ships you your custom fit night guard that's made right here in the United States in Las Vegas, and you get it back and you start protecting your teeth. The best part is they're so confident that you will get the perfect fit that they offer a 45-night perfect fit guarantee or your money back. No waiting rooms, no overpriced bills, just a better way to protect your teeth while you sleep. Try Remy risk-free at shopremy.com/DMA. Use the code DMA to get up to 50% off your night guard at checkout. That's 50% off at shopremy, REMI.com/DMA with code DMA. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode. So you're doing Everybody Loves Raymond with little kids around.
Yeah.
And then you're doing the middle. How old are your kids? Because I'm telling you, now that I have 14 boys, I'm in your 4-boy camp, if you didn't know. So I need all your mentoring.
14 boys.
I have 14 boys. So
I
13.
thought you said 14.
Nope.
I was like, oh.
No, not 14 boys. That would be so dumb.
Well, you know,
I wouldn't be sitting here.
My mom was one of 15 kids.
Bless your grandma's heart.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So the 14 doesn't, I guess people have
nothing.
14 boys. Can you imagine 14 boys? Anyway, 14. So 13, 15, 17, 19.
Yeah, 4 boys in their teens. Yeah.
Well, when you portray mothering your oldest, now his name totally slipped my mind, in the middle. I'm like,
Axel. Yeah.
Yes, I have had moments like that many times with my teens. So were your boys teens yet? How did you
So on Everybody Loves Raymond, the first season, I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and I was pregnant with the third, which is a crazy way to start a show.
Oh my gosh.
And the 3-year-old, during the run of the first season, of course, we put him in a gymnastics class because we bought into that thing where you're supposed to sign your kids up for everything from the minute they're born.
So wait. For the mom who's in that season right now.
Yeah.
What advice would you give her? Sign up for the thing or not?
No, give your kid a cardboard box to play with. That's all they need. And also just let them do stuff with you. It takes a little bit longer for them to help you, but I wish we had taught our kids to do more practical stuff around the house.
Okay.
Anyway.
So there's the ages.
Yes, but but Sam had gotten, so he's in this gymnastics class and he broke his leg in the class and he had a spiral fracture, which is really weird. And they had to put him in half a body cast. So I would come into rehearsal with him in a wheelchair and the 1-year-old John strapped to my chest, and I was pregnant with Joe. And then the third season, we got pregnant again with Dan. So I don't remember shooting any of somebody said, well, remember that episode when you did that? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, I actually don't remember it. I probably will when if I see it again, but
Did they integrate the pregnancies? I'm trying to remember
no,
back.
no,
No.
they just hit it. I was carrying a laundry basket.
Mm.
I was talking from behind the refrigerator door. They put the couch up on risers so that it covered my belly. And so, I mean, unfortunately, also, I did that show at a time when they were having to accommodate a lot of pregnant actresses. So it's been great.
Okay. So then that was a 10-year running show? How
Nine
long?
and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
So then by the time I did the mill, and also though, that was multi-camera. So let me explain to your listeners, multi-camera was perfect. This is how the Lord's plans are so beautiful. Multi-camera, you rehearse from like 10 till 5, 4 days a week. And the fifth day you shoot the show, which is a longer day. It's like 10, 12 hours. So you do that. So you have this time where you go, I could drop the kids off at school, go into work, or bring some of the kids with me who weren't in school yet. And they would run around and up in the dressing room and around the Warner Brothers lot. And then we'd come home together, and then we'd have our family time. We worked 3 weeks out of the month. So you're 3 weeks on and 1 week off. And then at Thanksgiving, you'd get 2 weeks. At Christmas and New Year's, you get 3 weeks off. And then you only work until March or April. And then you have 3 months off in the summer.
It's perfect
So
for school
it
age.
was just perfect for these little kids, because I could bring them to work. I could be there when they went to school and be there to pick them up. So that really worked out well. And so that's for 9 years. Now, the middle is a single camera show. So it's shot like a movie. And so you're there for 12 hours, especially the first season, it was 14 hours a day because
Oh my
we were trying to
gosh.
get it going. We had 1 or 2 16-hour days that just about broke me, but the most wonderful people. And just
Yeah.
when you're starting a show, it's just, you got to suck it up and do what needs to be done because everybody's trying to figure it out. So sometimes it takes longer. But they were all kind of in middle school to high school by that time. And their school was right near the studio. So they could come over after school if they wanted to. When you're shooting single camera, there's a lot of downtime. So you're not doing it in front of an audience. So you're just
Mm.
doing one scene at a time. It's all shot out of order. And there's a lot of times where you're either sitting in your trailer or just sitting in your director's chair on the set and doing stuff. I remember just like putting Halloween costumes together for the boys with the help of the wardrobe department, and sewing things and doing stuff. And the boys would come over and bring their friends and they'd watch the shooting and stuff like that. So, and they had their after school activities off. And so they were working until they were at school till like 6 o'clock at night. And that's usually when I got off. I would go in at 6 a.m. and then get off at 6 p.m. So that also kind of worked out very well. We also had every fourth week off, kind of a similar schedule. I think we did. Yeah. Did we? I can't remember. Um,
It's a blur. It's a blur.
but you got a
Yeah.
big chunk of time off in the summer. We'd all go off together to England to see family over there or whatever. So yeah, so I just feel very blessed that I was able to feel like being a full-time actress and a full-time mom. It's, very rare. I know that, I don't know if you remember, the one very Catholic kicker on that football team gave a speech at a Catholic high school about
Okay.
how wonderful it was that his wife was at home, a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, yeah. I did see that speech. Yeah.
And, outrage ensued,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
in and of itself is sort of this interesting thing
Conversation.
because
Yeah.
if somebody is it his wife isn't like a indentured servant. She's choosing to
I
do
just
this.
say we're all working moms. We're all
Yes,
working.
everybody's a
Yeah.
working mom.
Yeah.
So the way that people got outraged that this was their lifestyle. We're supposed to be able to have choice, right? And that's the choice they made.
Well, not everybody has choice. Like, it's a luxury to have a choice.
By
Yeah.
the way, I kind of don't disagree with anything he said in a sense that it's, mom is really important in those young years, right? And it's a big job and it's the most important job you can do, whether you're also working outside the home or not.
Yeah.
But and as far as being Christian goes, listen, God ordered that in my life.
Mm.
So I don't take any offense if somebody said all moms should stay at home. Well, I go to God first, and I've given my life to God. I give my career to Him, and that's what He gave me back. So I'm okay, with that.
And your boys are all grown?
Yes.
How
hmm
old are they now?
26 to 31.
And any of them in the industry? Any of them
Well,
pursue?
two of them are sort of in the music industry. They're musicians, and one works for an entertainment lawyer, an entertainment law firm, and one works at another law firm, but just is in real estate. So,
They're like, no, we're going to make the actual money, Mom.
yeah, well, I don't know about that, but
Oh, law. They're like,
someday, yeah.
someday, this
But
is right.
here's the thing, when I look at my own life and how it went, and I look around at like on the set of like The Middle, most of the hair and makeup people and the crew didn't go to college, and they all had these great jobs and they own their homes, and and so I never worried about if the boys were going to go to college or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a very I went to college, but I started as a journalism major, then ended up in theater, and I just went to New York and tried to figure it out for the next 10 years. So,
Yeah.
there's no right way for kids to be in the world. You kind of just have to see who they are and how best you can help them become and flourish as who God meant them to be.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
some of that is just by providing their education, a roof over their head, and just a sense of security.
Yeah. That's secure base, right?
Yeah,
To know they're loved and that
correct.
belonging with even each other, with the
Yes.
brothers. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So any married, any grandkids? No, not.
No, three have serious girlfriends, so
Okay.
we're we're applying tiny bit of pressure. I can only live for so long, right? They need to get going on this stuff, but
Oh my goodness. Any other encouragements? I feel like that's so encouraging for moms who, well, one, what you said about this is how the Lord ordered your life when it comes to career and family. And there's just, I think, a lot of muddled thinking sometimes and wanting to do it so right as a woman and a mom, and that there's a variety of paths, and that ultimately God will direct it if you go to Him first,
mhm,
and not to say, well, this is the only way to do it, because that would be terrible if we all had the exact same path.
right.
And then just to like guide your kids that it's okay on their path. There's not a formula of X, Y, and Z to be successful, and then to encourage them on their path. I think both of those things are really good to hear from a
Mhm,
mentor like yourself. I want to pivot and talk a little bit about a movie that you made a few years ago
mhm.
that's now out streaming on Prime, and it's called Unexpected.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about, the mom life, motherhood journey, and all of that. And that is a gift that we don't take for granted. And this movie kind of highlights the challenges in a comedic way and a dramatic way of making a family. And so
Yes.
talk to me about like how did you even get interested in this project? Where did it come from, and like your motivations behind
So
it?
we had optioned a book through my agent, and it was about a couple, and the wife was adopting stray animals, rescue animals, and the husband was kind of dealing with depression. And we had written a screenplay based on that, and we did a table read at the house, and it didn't really work. There was something missing, and so we decided, why don't we say that the reason she's adopting all these rescue animals is because she can't have children, and so
Mm,
she's channeling her maternal energy into these animals. And the writer went away and he said, got it. Came back in like a week and a half, 2 weeks, really quickly. We're like, how did you do this so quickly? It's amazing. He did this, just turned in this beautiful, beautiful script. And he said, I never told you guys, but my daughters are adopted. And this is
mm.
exactly what we went through. And a lot of the dialogue between our heroes, Amy and Bob, is from Rodney Vaccaro's personal journey, our
Oh
writer's
wow.
personal journey. And I think what's wonderful about this, we have these two great comedic actors in Anna Camp and Joe Mazzello.
If y'all don't know Anna Camp just by her name, Pitch
Yes,
Perfect.
pitch
Okay.
perfect. Yeah,
Enough said.
yeah.
Yeah.
And though obviously, I believe that the best way into tough subjects is through comedy and
Yep.
humor.
Yep.
That all comedy is really based on struggle and pain. Everybody Loves Raymond. The comedy came from the struggle with the in-laws and from trying to stay married while raising kids. The struggle was economic often, and trying to get through life as your kids are older and having
All
to really
things.
pinch pennies all the time.
Yeah.
So for Unexpected, with Anna Camp and Joe Mazzello, it really was about two people in a marriage who keep being on different pages with this infertility issue. They find out she can't have children and she wants to adopt, and Bob doesn't.
Yeah.
And so it's about trying to get on the same track at the same time and how that impacts a marriage.
Yeah.
And she does start rescuing animals and he does start going to see different therapists. And we have some wonderful actors from the middle playing
Yeah.
those therapists.
Yeah. Your
Neil Flynn
husband, right?
plays yes, Neil Flynn plays the handyman. And then the character of Reverend Tim Tom, played by Paul Hipp, is also plays one of the therapists, and Pat Finn, who is also in the middle, plays one of the therapists. And humor is just a great way to get into serious topics. And I would say this is sort of a quirky dramedy, and it does take some unexpected turns. And I think one of the encouragements we got early on was a male crew member coming up to us and saying, what I love about this script is you have the male perspective on infertility, how it impacts the husband. He said, you don't often see a guy able to talk about his feelings in a movie. That's usually the woman's role. So they both get these wonderful lines and monologues to do. And it's a real journey. And I think, we call this a God infused movie
Yeah.
because it really takes a very realistic look at the difficulties of a marriage, and especially with the issue of infertility. This month is Infertility Awareness Month in the National Infertility Awareness Month. And so it's one of the reasons why we thought we'd just pop on some of these your wonderful podcasts and things to talk about this, because it's a big problem as women have put off getting pregnant till much later. And then you really get under this biological clock. So if there's any issue in trying to get pregnant, it gets harder if you've started later. I actually did not have my first son until I was 35. So I'm one of those people that started later, but I just must have good Irish Catholic genes because we just started getting pregnant a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think these days, because of the pandemic, one good thing that came out of it was remote work. And I think now there's more opportunity for women to be pregnant and parent if their employer can give them remote time to be at home. So, I think if you meet that right person, if you meet your life partner, probably makes sense to try getting pregnant sooner than later. And I know there's an economic cost to that, but I think we do a lot of things that we think are necessary that cost money that really aren't. I mean, we talked about, I'm signing my kids up for gymnastics class at the age of 2 or 3. Not necessary.
Well, and yeah,
Not
that's the thing.
necessary.
Like, I think it's this social pressure that you're a good parent if you do X, Y, and Z. I was talking to a friend yesterday, even a teen girl. I mean, I don't have a teen girl,
Mhm.
but the pressure to spray tan and do the nails and all the expensive skincare. I mean, that's just like a couple things, but that gets so expensive and not necessary. You and I didn't have that when we were teenagers and we survived, but it's the pressure of like if they don't, then they're excluded and the belonging is so and so then
Right.
it's like with the little years, it's similar of, well, if we don't sign them up for 18-month-old soccer, which is always my classic example of unnecessary, but then they feel like we're not going to meet other parents or we're not going to set them up for success for the club team. There's all these
That
lies
club
of,
thing, that really, I'm so glad I didn't know about that and that my kids
okay,
didn't know about the club team. Or if they did, they didn't seem to want to be, they weren't interested. Because when I see what parents have to give up everything to follow their kids around to these different high schools all over the country, it's just mind boggling to me. Listen, our kids, at one point, like 3 of our boys were all signed up for Little League, right? So on the weekend, we'd have 3 or 4 games, Saturday and Sunday, take up our whole time. And we just looked at each other and we're like, we're not doing this. We went to the boys and we're like, so how much do you like Little League? Do you want to do it? And they're like, not really. And we're like, fantastic. Let's quit the team. Because we like to go and do stuff, not sitting on the field watching your kid pick his nose with, out in left field and.
So Patricia's hit on the fact that sometimes we overschedule our kids and overcomplicate things, and we just need to tap into their childlike wonder. And I think that is true for us as moms too. Like, we kind of lose our wonder and our just playfulness. We also can forget to take care of ourselves. I was at the sidelines of a football game with a mom earlier this year, and she was like, I really need to get new eyeglasses. And I'm like, yes, please take care of yourself. And let me introduce you to a great company. It's called Pair Eyewear. They have so many fun base frames, and then they have these really cool top frames that you can snap on to change the color or to add sunglasses, and they're super, super affordable. The base frames start at just $60, and your FSA or HSA can also be used to cover the prescription eyewear. Plus, you can get 15% off when you use our code DON'TMOM at paireyewear.com. So what's really fun, if you have kids that need glasses, maybe they're not for you, they do collabs with Disney. They do princesses, Disney, Mickey and Friends, Marvel, Star Wars. They even have NBA and NHL toppers. And then they just have really pretty ones. Like, I love some of the bright colors, the tortoise options. I was seeing a friend on Sunday. She was coming out of church, and we have this open area between two buildings. I'm explaining too much, but she came out, she had sunglasses on. She's walked up to me and she took off the top frame. She had Pair Eyewear that I guess she'd heard about it through my show. And I think that's so great. If you're someone who needs to wear prescription glasses, you don't want to wear contacts, you don't want to have two pairs, Pair Eyewear is a great option for you. And there's free returns and exchanges within 30 days, no questions asked. See the world with fresh eyes. Go to paireyewear.com. Use that code DON'TMOM for 15% off your first pair. And support the show by mentioning Don't Mom Alone sent you in the post-checkout survey. That's Pair, and it's spelled P-A-I-R, eyewear.com, and use the code DON'TMOM. I know how hard it is to get kids, especially now that I have 4 teens, to eat food that is going to help actually fuel their body. They need certain vitamins and minerals, and I know they're not getting them in their food. And that's why I love partnering with Hiya. Okay, so traditionally, back in the day, children's vitamins were basically candy in disguise with 2 teaspoons of sugar, chemicals, gummy additives. They like rot their teeth, and not with Hiya. What's great is it's formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts, and it's pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and vegetables, then supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including D, B12, C, zinc, which is great for immunity, folate, so many other things to help their energy, their brain, their immunity, their mood, their concentration, all the things. It's non-GMO, vegan, dairy-free, allergy-free, gelatin-free, nut-free, everything else you can imagine. And every single batch is third-party tested for metals and heavy metals and microbiomes. And that happens in a qualified GMP-compliant lab using scientifically validated testing methods. So not only is it getting your kids what they need, it's safe and nutritious. It is designed for kids 2 and up. And what's so great is it's sent straight to your door so conveniently every month. You get this great glass jar that they can decorate and put their name on that starts when you start your account. And then every month they're sending you refills for that jar. It's super, super simple. And one other great thing, if you're tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens, Hiya now has a Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfood, a chocolate flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids. It is packed with 55 plus whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, digestion, to scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. And we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/DMA. This deal is not available on their regular website. So go to Hiya Health, hiyahealth.com/DMA and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow up into healthy adults. Yeah, what did you guys do as a family? Like, when they're not in school and you're not in work, you're home on the weekends, like what kinds of things?
Well, I'm old enough to remember Blockbuster, so it was always going to pick out movies at Blockbuster and then
Yes.
Baskin Robbins for ice cream on the way back. Just a lot of, they just entertain themselves because there's four of them. So they love having forts where you just put that blanket on top of four chairs and suddenly they're in a fort. They would take the cushions off the couch and ride the cushion down the stairs. This
Yes.
was the entertainment.
Yes, I can relate.
We did
Yes.
do like things like, because I had boys, I found out about this tabletop gaming thing called Warhammer. I don't know if your boys, are you familiar with Warhammer?
Warhammer.
Yes.
No. Okay.
It's a
Tell me
British
more.
company. If you go to Games Workshop, they have all of these Warhammer sets. And it's a
Okay.
combination of a very artistic endeavor, plus it's like the game Risk, where
Yeah.
you have these armies and you lay them out and you throw dice and you measure where the armies are going. So, but
Mhm.
in Warhammer, it's like fantasy. So the original Warhammer was Space Marines 40,000 or something like that. And it's kind of sci-fi fantasy, but they also have Warhammer Lord of the Rings. So you paint your little figures. So I remember I was like, this is genius. I bought them these little figures and paints and little magnifying glasses. And to see the four of them just sitting at the dining room table or the kitchen table, just quietly painting these figures
That's
was
amazing.
so great. And one of our sons still does it. It's a British company, but it's very big here too. And in fact, Henry Cavill, who was the actor that played Superman in the
Oh,
franchise, he was a huge Warhammer fan, and he's actually shooting the series of Warhammer right now. So it will come onto your radar.
okay.
What are your boys interested in? Are they sporty
My
guys?
kids, I mean, they're gamers,
Yeah,
like video game
yeah,
people.
mine too.
We are big movie people. Like
Yeah.
one of mine has the scratch off IMDb top 100 and is working his way.
Oh,
What
how
he
wonderful!
asked to watch Being John Malkovich yesterday with my
How
husband.
old is he?
He's 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Have you seen or have you showed him Ordinary People?
I feel like we've talked about
With
it, but I
Donald
will double check.
Sutherland and Timothy Hutton and Mary Tyler Moore, directed by Robert Redford.
I'm gonna have to ask him.
Put that on there
Ordinary
because
people.
we showed my youngest. My youngest son was, I don't know how we got on the topic, but I said, "Have you ever seen Ordinary People?" He said, "No." I said, "Let's watch it when we get home." And he sat down, and it's so perfect because it's about Timothy Hutton in high school after his brother has passed away,
Oh, okay.
and his relationship with his parents, and they're struggling with their grief, and he's struggling with it and with his friends. And afterwards, my son said, "So you can have a whole movie where people are just talking." I'm like, "Yeah." And it can be exciting. He loved it.
It can be
The
great,
other movie
actually.
he really loved, he said is one of the greatest movies he's ever seen is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, we
And
have
that
seen that with
really
him.
holds up.
We have
But
seen that
the
with him.
okay, but the one you have to watch, okay, this is my personal
Yes,
number 1 movie of all time.
yes.
Greatest writing, directing, acting, scoring,
My pen's ready.
On the Waterfront with
On the
Marlon Brando.
waterfront.
Have you seen it?
I have heard of it, but I don't know that I've made it.
Okay, you gotta watch it with your 17-year-old.
Okay, On the
It
waterfront.
is the greatest movie ever made.
Here's the deal. I'm gonna tell him you said to watch it
Yes, so
because if
then he'll know.
I say, he's gonna be like, "No, mom, I'm not watching
Mhm.
the movie."
Yep. Ordinary People and On the Waterfront.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, he what he said about Being John Malkovich is he was like, "I had no idea what was coming next. There was no predictability in that movie."
Right, right,
He
right.
said, "I kinda loved that." And then we looked up who wrote it, and it was the same person who did, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind,
Yes.
which is like, again, it's like, what is happening in this movie?
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, no, I think, yeah, I think I can't decide if he will end up in the industry doing something like some role, business side maybe, or
Mhm.
he's just gonna be a fan for life, you
Yeah,
know?
it's wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
to really when you discover those gems. I was just on another podcast where, the interviewer was talking about Howard's End, the Merchant Ivory movie.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that in a
All the
long time.
Merchant Ivory movies are terrific. Remains of the Day, also
Remains of the
terrific.
Day, I remember
Yeah,
that one. These
yeah.
are old. These is like pulling back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. There was a season
Also,
pre
he has to watch My Left Foot.
Oh, yes, I
Daniel
do remember
Day-Lewis,
that.
write that down, My
That's an
Left Foot.
Academy
He'll love
Award
that.
winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Left Foot. And I think he still hasn't seen Schindler's List, so he's gonna
Oh,
watch that for
yes.
school. They have to do. I know. These are good movies. Y'all didn't know you were gonna get a top movie list from Patty or Patricia. Okay, any last words of wisdom for the mom? Like, even in making, I guess we'll go back to the Unexpected movie.
Mhm.
In making that film, was there anything that surprised you, or that you were like, I'd never considered this aspect of the journey? Or
Well, it's the first movie that Dave and I produced it on our own. We financed it.
wow.
He directed it. Dave directed it. My husband, David Hunt. It's a real labor of love. I remember we were trying to find the location of this old farmhouse that the couple buys. And I'm sitting in this hotel room in Oklahoma and I'm thinking, I'm too old to be doing this. Like we were having real trouble finding it. I'm like, I could just be at home in my pool. What am I
Don't you ever
doing
think
this
like, can I
for?
just be a normal person?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
why'd
I
I get
can't.
this?
No,
Why'd I
I
get this? Yeah.
can't. And so it's, and it was such a labor of love. And it was so hard, but it was so rewarding. We loved it so much. To be able to do an independent movie where you get to make all the decisions is scary and wonderful. And
Mm.
that's kind of like parenting. You bring kids in. I don't know if you probably felt this and all your listeners felt that when you first come home with your first child, it's just like, okay, what do I do now? Like, what do I do? Like, you just
Where's the
have to start.
manual?
There's no manual. You could have read every book, and yet when you walk through your front door with a baby, you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And it's so humbling, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh
this
yeah.
was also humbling. Making this movie is like birthing a baby, and you hope it turns out well, and you hope everybody loves your baby as much as you do. So, and I just think generally about the entertainment industry. There's a lot of criticism of Hollywood, and rightly so. But also, I just know so many wonderful people. I had wonderful experiences on Raymond and The Middle. And, there's a lot of people of faith that work in the industry, and we're all kind of struggling right now
Mm.
with the contraction of work that's being shot in the United States. Certainly in
Wow.
LA, it's very,
Wow.
very contracted, and a lot of people are losing their jobs, and people who've worked all their lives and have storied careers are finding it difficult. So I have a lot of sympathy for anybody who can get anything done. And if your listeners pray for something, keep Hollywood in mind, because they have such an outsized impact on our culture, and we need to pray for those of us who love the Lord to really create wonderful projects and get those financed and get those out there and have them done well, and to contribute to the culture. It's why my husband and I put our company together, Four Boys Entertainment.
What's it
Um,
called again? Four
Four
Boys?
Boys Entertainment.
I love
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
It's
Because
great.
we wanted to leave a legacy for our kids. And
Yeah.
we produced a movie called Amazing Grace, which was
Okay.
about William Wilberforce and the abolition of the slave trade in the British colonies. And we put out Unexpected now about the struggle of infertility, and we have a lot more in the pipeline. So it's a tough, tough, tough business. But somebody's got to do it. So
I talk about this Hebrew definition of humility is to fully occupy your God-given space. So
that's
it is in
wonderful.
humility that God has given you this space to
Yes,
occupy, and it
right.
is trusting him with what's outside the space. But for you, like just watching you say, okay, he's assigned me to this and it's in his timing and he's giving me the strength. And now it's this. And even though it's scary, just applauding you and how you're doing that.
Thanks. Thank you so much. This has been lovely.
Oh my goodness. And if y'all want, there's this ministry called Master Media International, and they're big on praying for Hollywood, and they send you updates on different things, and they actually meet with studio heads, and not in a way that's like, we need you to change and be more Christian, more like, how can we support you and love you
Right,
in the work that you're doing? And
right.
so I'm a big fan of that ministry,
Yeah,
y'all, if you're listening.
great. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, it was
Oh
so
my
lovely to
gosh.
chat with you.
This has been so fun. Highlight of my life in podcasting. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I want to hear back from you about what your son thought of On the Waterfront and Ordinary People.
Yes, I will text
Okay.
you. I don't know. I'll let you know somehow. All right. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
You too. Have a great day.
So fun. Okay. Well, I hope that if anything, you have felt mentored by Patty, Patricia. to trust God's timing in your family story, to consider how you spend time as a family, what you love to do together, how humor plays a role even in the hardest and the struggles of our stories. And again, happy Mother's Day. I'm going to pray over us. Lord, I thank you for the woman who is listening. And if a man has snuck in here, I pray that your Holy Spirit would supernaturally whisper into their soul how you see the daily sacrifice. Oh my goodness, I'm getting choked up. Love, intentionality that they pour into their family. That whether they are celebrated on the outside by the people in their world, that they would feel your love and your tenderness towards how they reflect your heart, God. You are a God who loves us. You are a God who gives sacrificially. You are not a haphazard God, and you see their intentions and you look over imperfections. And I'm so grateful for that. You never called us to perfect lives, just surrendered ones. And I thank you, God, that those who are listening are really desiring to do the best that they can do in this assignment you've given them to steward the next generation and to love these kids well. I pray, Lord, that we would set at the foot of the cross anything in our parenting that is our own self-interest, trying to look good, that we truly would come to you with our responses and our decisions and the paths that we're on with our family, that we would first and foremost come to you, God, for direction. I thank you for how you do lead us faithfully, even in the hardest places, and how joy is one of your markers. An abundant life is what you desire. And thank you, God, for entrusting us with the role of motherhood. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, I was not expecting to cry, y'all. Whatever. You got a bonus. Thank you for listening. I hope that you do, again, have a great Mother's Day. But, one gift you could give a mom friend, well, you could always get her the book, Don't Mom Alone. I think that's a great Mother's Day present. But also just pick one of your fave episodes and send it her way. It would be really helpful to this show. It's kind of a hard season in podcasting. A lot of friends of mine are just talking about how it's getting trickier in the industry. So any support you have, if you've listened to the show for a long time, don't forget about us. I really, really appreciate your love and support so that I can keep doing this, because otherwise I can't keep doing this forever if it's not something that helps support our family. So I am thankful when I get feedback. A mom reached out about how the sleep episode I did with Eve, how it really revolutionized sleep with her 2-year-old. And that just reminded me that it's for stories like that kind of the ripple effect of impact on families. So thank you for those stories. Thank you for being so faithful and listening and for sharing. And I will see you back here next week. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Don't Mom Alone podcast. If you're wanting to connect with more people and more resources to help remind you that you're not alone, head over to don'tmomalone.com. That's where you'll also find show notes with any links mentioned by our guests. Most importantly, I want you to know the good news, the great news that you're not alone because God has promised to always be with you. With faith in Jesus Christ, the one who died for you and rose again, Jesus said when he left, he was going to leave a helper, a comforter, to be with us. God in us. Moms, that's superpower. So while you're washing dishes at your kitchen sink, while you're driving to and from work, while you're feeding that baby late into the night, while you're cleaning sticky floors, God promises to be just as present with you as when you're worshiping in a church pew. As it says in Zephaniah 3:17, The Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He takes great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love, and he will rejoice over you with singing. Now that's good news. Have a great day.